All right, well, we might get started. So thanks again for everyone for attending this afternoon to find out about our Race Gippsland Raising Aspirations in Agriculture project. My name's Amy Cosby and I'm a researcher at CQUniversity Australia. I do notice a lot of familiar faces here, and those of you that do know me will know that I'm actually based down here in Gippsland. So my husband and I are dairy farmers, and I've been working for CQU for 3 years and on some projects down in Gippsland as well, where I've got to know some of you throughout the last 18 months. So our new project, Race Gippsland, is funded by the Department of Education and Training, and there'll be a large team of all females here that I can see on the screen from CQU. Myself, based in Gippsland, Dr. Jamie Manning, who is in Rockhampton, Dr. Nicole McDonald, based out of Melbourne, Amy McCosker in Rocky, Lara Carton also at our Melbourne campus, and Professor Bobby Harreveld that's in Rockhampton. So although there are some of us based down here in Gippsland, there will be a lot of behind the scenes, and hopefully our Queensland friends also coming to do a lot of presenting and interacting with our students down here in Gippsland. So this project is not possible without our project partners, and the strength of our application, I believe, to the department was showing the collaboration that we will have across Gippsland with key industry and also education partners. So I'd like to acknowledge and thank the local learning and employment networks in Gippsland, so Bawbor Latrobe, South Gippsland, Bass Coast and Gippsland East. Also TAFE Gippsland, GippsDairy and VegeNet for joining us on this journey that we're starting, and also in thanking you in advance for all the input that you'll have. As I mentioned, this project is funded by the Department of Education and Training in Victoria from their rural, regional and remote section. So those of you that are already working in food and fibre will probably be quite familiar with these statistics, but agriculture supports a significant component of Australia's GDP. So directly employed in the ag industry is over 220,000 people. But if you look at indirectly across the supply chain, that number reaches 1.3 million. So it's a key employer in the sector. And after a year like 2020, agriculture is definitely one of the sectors that I think people have really started to value more and understand how lucky we are in Australia to have so much high quality food and fibre grown here. So Victoria alone is Australia's largest producer and exporter of food and fibre, and with a lot of our land mass used for agricultural activities. I think as well, not only in Gippsland, but across Victoria, where it's a really important part, our peri-urban production in our state is incredibly important. So I think that sort of shows, even if students are thinking they don't want to stay in rural and regional areas, if they do move into larger cities, they'll still be exposed to food and fibre jobs, which is really important. Gippsland, the food sector, the agri-food sector, is the largest contributor to the economy, with recent research showing that it represents about 7 billion of Gippsland's gross regional product. Gippsland is a really unique area as well, in that we have such strong industries, especially in dairy and horticulture, but definitely the beef, sheep and other industries as well are all important players. So as you would all be aware as well, the food and fibre sector is becoming increasingly important as the Gippsland region transitions out of other industry sectors. So native forest and timber products in the east, and sort of that traditional energy generation in central Gippsland especially. So as those industries potentially decrease in size or shift into new roles required, the agricultural sector becomes even more important in Gippsland. And therefore it's vitally important that our regional and rural students gain an understanding of what jobs are on offer in Gippsland in this sector. But also, I guess perhaps selfishly, I think it's really important that all young people, or all people actually everywhere, have an understanding of where their food and fibre comes from. So agriculture is one of those sectors that we all interact with on a daily basis. So I think that even if we don't, and I don't anticipate that we'll attract every single student that we come in contact with into the industry. I really do hope we can impart some knowledge on them about how lucky we are in Gippsland to have such high quality produce being grown and manufactured in the area. So our project RACE, standing for Raising Aspirations in Careers and Education Gippsland, is a 3-year program. It did commence in 2020, sort of mid to late 2020, but obviously we've had a bit of a soft launch because of the circumstances around the global pandemic. And our team's been doing a lot of, I guess, planning behind the scenes to sort of get ready for a rollout in 2021. So this project will run till mid 2023. And the idea of this is to sort of highlight where we're starting, but don't think that we've planned everything. We are definitely looking for people's input into our programs and recognise schools, teachers, industry, farmers, people working in the ag sector are going to be key to the success of this project. So we're aiming to raise awareness and increase motivation of young people in Gippsland to pursue one of the number of careers across the agricultural supply chain. So we're not just focused, although working on farm is a vital part of the agricultural sector, we want to show them that not only can you work on farm, that's one great option, but working in manufacturing, working in product marketing, developing technology, or working in education, all those sorts of careers that are available across the sector. We also want to build, in general, knowledge and increase aspirations to consider further education, whether that be at TAFE or university, formal traineeships, all those sorts of things. We want to tell Gippsland students and help them realise their potential to undertake further study once they've finished school, or if they're considering traineeships throughout schools. And not only that, and if they're not interested in potential further education at this stage, we hope that it's something that they will consider later down the track when they're already in the workforce. But we want to also enhance their general life skills. We want to give them skills in communication and problem solving and build their resilience by exposing them to potential employers and industry role models, but also exposing them to real work. So the activities that we develop, the modules, the training, the activities that we all will deliver will be really focused on giving them real world experience as much as we can to enhance not just their life skills, but their confidence, and that they too can pursue an amazing career and education in Gippsland. So the project objectives, and these do come from the funding objectives, is to increase access to learning opportunities. Often students in rural, regional and remote areas, one of the biggest barriers to opportunity is there's just a lack of, I guess, opportunities made available to them that they can access, whether that be through cost, time or distance. We want to bring really high quality activities straight to them in their schools in Gippsland, so that there's no requirement to travel too far. Knowing that sometimes through some of our programs and our industry connections, we might be able to provide excursions into Melbourne or to other regions of Victoria, but predominantly we want to be delivering in Gippsland. We want to improve their knowledge of future pathways and career options on a really broad scale. So, and again, recognising that it might not be something that they will definitely do straight after year 12, but hopefully when they do think it's time for them to consider their options, they will reflect on what they've learned. And also enhancing engagement and connections with industry and the community. So as some of you were involved in our Gippy Ag project last year, you would know that one of the main reasons we want to work with industry and community is to make these connections sustainable. So this project's for 3 years, but I would hope that we are able to support and help facilitate relationships between education, industry and individual businesses that will last well beyond the life of this project, to make this something that is people have got increased networks and increased confidence of knowing who to go to gain information that they need for their students. I'm just going to pass over to my colleague, Nicole McDonald, who's going to talk a bit about the research that we're going to do around this project.
Thanks so much, Amy. Hey, everyone. So my name's Nicole McDonald, and my background is in career development. I guess I just wanted to give you a bit of an overview of how we're thinking about this project and what sort of evidence base we're coming at it from. So if we're looking at raising aspirations in careers and education, what we're really interested in is finding out what actually drives career interests and choices. And what I've put up here is a bit of a well-established model of career choice. And in the middle of this model, what you'll notice there is really the engine room of where we can have an effect to help raise those aspirations for people. So I guess with quality learning experiences, what we're trying to target is students' self-efficacy expectations. So that's their confidence in their skills and abilities associated with agri-food careers. So our program has quite a strong STEM focus, but there's also business aspects of it. There's a whole range of sort of skills attached there. We're also looking to try and expand students' understanding of what kind of outcomes are on offer from pursuing study or an agricultural career. So, you know, your outcome expectations are, you know, your knowledge around those work conditions, the values of that workplace. And what we find often is that unless kids have had a lot of exposure to agriculture, they may have very stereotypical ideas of what an agricultural career involves that are quite outdated. So it's really important for us to give them a more realistic view of what's on offer in the industry there. And those two factors really combine to supercharge interests in an industry or a profession. And as Amy said before, we're not just looking at those sort of narrow, typical agriculture jobs. We're really looking to span the whole range of interests that can be explored and try and get students to self-reflect on what they're interested in and how that could actually be realised in this context. So next slide. So when we're having a look at the program, and this might make a little bit more sense when we go through the many aspects that and activities that we're going to be conducting, what we're wanting to do is evaluate the impact. So we're really looking to kind of understand that baseline of students' awareness and perceptions of agriculture, agri-food and horticulture industries. You know, what do they know about pathways and careers? And then obviously have a look to see if we've managed to change those through our activities. Teachers are integral to raising aspirations. So we're really keen to get an understanding of the supports and barriers that teachers face when trying to implement food and fibre modules or learning activities that can inspire their students. We're wanting to look at that student knowledge, their skills, self-efficacy, their expectations and interest in further study and careers related to the Gippsland ag and hort industry. And overall, we're really planning some activities that we're hoping will have some impact on students' optimism for the future, their proactive behaviours, that sense of community belonging, and their employability skills, which are all those transferable skills, you know, communication, problem solving, all of those things that are integral to whatever career you're going to pursue in the future. Next slide. And we've also got some secondary research questions. So we're not just interested in what's working, we want to know how it's working. And so we really want to unpack how do our industry mentors that we're planning to get involved experience their roles in school industry partnerships, and how do teachers experience their roles there as well, and what can we learn from these experiences that can improve interventions that seek to raise those aspirations and educate students about the world of agricultural work. Thanks, Amy.
Awesome. Thanks, Nicole. So we also want to acknowledge that we understand there's lots of different projects occurring in Gippsland, and there are lots that are occurring around food and fibre as well. In measuring impact of our activities, we're definitely not going to be taking all the credit at all. So we know that this is something that is a team effort, and it's the more touch points that we can have. We encourage collaboration. We are happy to be involved in other people's projects where we can and where we can add value, and we welcome collaborations into ours as well. We will be using a range of different methods to gather data, pre and post activity surveys, focus groups for some of our activities, interviews, and we'll be seeking participation from anyone who is interested in being part of our activities, but especially the students, teachers and industry mentors. Just to give you all a bit of a time frame, at the moment, our main goal before the end of the year is to develop 3 learning modules ready to be reviewed by stakeholders and teachers in 2021. We are designing all of our activities in that draft stage, seeking input for implementation through 2021, 2022 and 2023. So the next part of the presentation, I'll just give you all a brief overview of what each project activity looks like at the moment. And I should have said, if you'd like to ask any questions, I think there's a chat function. Please type some questions into the chat and one of our team will answer them, but also we'll have time at the end to answer any. So who can participate? We've had a lot of questions, I guess, around this. We're looking at primary and secondary students from Gippsland, so not limited to secondary at all. The growing evidence base says that the earlier that we can target students and get them starting to think about their careers and what they'd like to do in their future pathway, the more that's where we need to do it. I think it's around 8 to 10 years old is when young people now start to form a really valid idea of what their career looks like. So if we just went to target 11s and 12s, I think we're probably going to have missed the boat. We're also looking for engagement from mentors and role models across Gippsland. One of my favourite sayings is you can't be what you can't see. So we need to expose our students and our teachers to the amazing people that we already have here in Gippsland. I know that sometimes it can be a barrier for participation from industry, not just with time and all the competing priorities that you have, but I have spoken to some people who might not be confident in interacting with students and how not knowing if they have the skills. Our team is really experienced in working with young people, and part of this project is working with industry to support you in being able to successfully communicate and engage with schools and teachers. So if that's something that is potentially holding you back, but you're really keen to be involved, please don't hesitate to get in contact with us, because we're very much willing to work with you to make you feel confident and happy to participate. We'll also be working with ag industry bodies and, of course, our project partners on an ongoing basis, making sure that we review and reflect the work that we're doing so that we can continuously improve. So the first activity that I'd like to speak about is our developing learning materials for STEM and agricultural education in upper primary and secondary. So I'm quite aware that in Gippsland, not every school has an agricultural class or an ag teacher, or if they do have an ag class, often the ag teacher is not ag trained. We want to be able to provide resources that are ready to use by schools and teachers that can be taught across a variety of curriculum areas. We are focusing on STEM, but there are one of the modules I will talk to you about has got a really good business management class aspect as well. So they'll be aligned to Victorian STEM, digital and food technologies. But one of the focuses of our research team in particular is really showing young people how the use of agri-tech tools and systems is increasing in the ag industry. There is that perception at times that the agricultural industry is all about hard work, and there's, you know, no technology used. It's quite a backwards industry. And we really want to shift that story to tell not just the young people, but the whole community how advanced our industry is and how we're working to use more advanced technology and tools all the time. One of the things that I often hear from teachers is that it's really hard to get authentic data that students can relate to use in the classroom. So we aim to provide a really good range of data sets that teachers can access with their students, not only just to use within these learning modules, but potentially for other aspects of their curriculum. As anyone who's involved in food and fibre industry knows, agriculture and hort data overload. We've got so much data that we are more than happy to work with schools and teachers to find something that suits them. We want students to have access to data that's regionally relevant, so that instead of saying, oh, I don't even know why I'm learning about this, this has no application whatsoever, we can start to get them to see how this would be important if they were to consider careers in this space. The modules that we're working on at the moment is diving into dairy data. Definitely biased here, but the dairy industry has lots of technology and data that I'd love to be able to share with young people and teachers. And we have some data sets that we've been working with GippsDairy and Ellen Bank to expose students to a range of different information that you can get from dairy enterprises, whether that be the amount of milk produced per cow per day, some herd test results, body condition score, all those sorts of things. And we're working through students being able to analyse and interpret data. So using Excel, programs like that are quite important not only at school, but through everyday life to increase their digital literacy skills. We've also been working with a business called Escavox that work around traceability, not just in the hort industry where we'll be focusing, but across lots of different food and fibre sectors. So what this module will allow us to do is actually track some produce that has left Gippsland and watch its journey and the temperature and the length of time it spends getting to its final destination for sale in either Australia or even across the world. So we want to show students through this, I guess, the importance of supply chains and how the different roles that are available in the agricultural industry with logistics, with developing this type of technology, but also showing them that, you know, living in Gippsland, you've got access to food that people are really seeking in parts of the world. We met with them yesterday. They have the Middle East, they're tracking produce into China and other Southeast Asian countries as well. So with each of these activities, we have set ourselves a target of trying to expose a number of students to. So the idea is that we would hopefully a minimum of 10 schools looking at 25 students across the life of the project. So I've also just missed the last module around potato chips and food waste. Our team does like to do activities around food because we do think that students get really excited when they get to eat something in class as well, potentially. This prac activity is all around how different potatoes can be used to make chips, but then also getting them to peel that potato and think about what can be done with that food waste. So the food waste is a big issue. CQ is part of the Fight Food Waste CRC that's looking at all different ways to prevent food waste. And we want to get students thinking about that innovation cycle, doing some design thinking and those sorts of things to think about really new and innovative ways they could see food waste from potatoes being used in Gippsland. Our second activity is all around teacher professional development. So as Nicole mentioned, we know that teachers are an integral part of raising aspirations of students. And they're also, even though we might see students in 1 year, if we're able to build capacity and confidence in teachers, this will benefit students for years to come. So the idea is that we'll have two-day STEM food and fibre teacher professional development days held in Gippsland in different locations each year. The idea is that we'll spend 1 day getting around out to not just farms, but other agricultural businesses, speaking to people who, are future or potential current employees in Gippsland and finding out what skills that they're looking for in the students, but also taking the time to take them through some of the learning modules and activities that we've developed so that they will feel comfortable and confident to deliver these in the classroom. We never develop things and expect teachers to take word for word and step by step. We encourage teachers to use their skills and what suits their class to take parts of what we've developed to support their teaching, to improve it, not replace it. So these workshops, I guess we are hoping that we'll also build networks within Gippsland, with teachers that are interested in food and fibre. So in some of our previous research, what we found is that one of the biggest barriers or challenges faced by teachers is not having a supportive network of fellow teachers to bounce ideas off. So by having these activities each year, we hope that we might get some of the same teachers that are able to develop those strong networks and speak outside, obviously, of our activities. We want to provide them the confidence to use modules and also give them a first-hand experience at a range of different businesses across Gippsland, and that they might like to take their students to in the future. So each workshop, we were looking to have a minimum of 20 teachers, so 40 teachers each year. Over 3 years, we're hoping to at least engage with 120 teachers. And then that overall objective is that by building that awareness and confidence of teachers, not only in food and fibre concepts in the classroom, but career pathways and educational options that will enable students to take advantage of these. So Agri-tech Experience Roadshow, we have run in East Gippsland, which was really, really successful and a really great way to give a large number of students access to some really hands-on and engaging interactive activities. So we'll hold this roadshow in four locations across Gippsland each year, aimed at primary and secondary students, whether that's prep, so prep to year 12, we're open to. Basically, this comprises of 2 45-minute activities. We've done activities around like Fitbits for cows, sweet science, getting kids to learn about ripeness of fruit, the potato chip prac. We're going to look at some different types of milk, sensors, and looking at fat and protein contents. All really simple experiments, but hopefully giving those students that hands-on experience of the science and the technology that goes into food and fibre production. So again, we're hoping to have at least a minimum of 120 students at each event, so 480 each year, 480 primary, and 480 secondary, and close to 2,000 students over the 3 years. And I think that's actually quite a really a minimum. That's a really low bar. I do think we can exceed that because it's something that we will run in schools, so go to schools so that smaller schools might want to travel into one of the larger schools in the region. But all these activities will be available free of charge, hoping to reduce one of those barriers that some schools and students face. The food and fibre industry school partnerships is definitely another activity where we see strong connection with individuals across the region. We would be encouraging and seeking out people that would be willing to host students on their farm for a day, but also going into the classroom to provide background information and follow up. So as again, Nicole said, the more touch points that we can have with students, the better, I guess, the opportunity is to really get to the bottom of their questions and make them think and continue to reflect about agriculture and hort being a really viable career option. So we would be asking people to come into schools and, speak about careers, speak about the soft skills and those life skills that they're looking for, and, provide some sort of mentoring to classes, hosting schools on their property so that they can see the type of work that occurs, the technology that you use, the environmental sustainability practices that you're employing, all those different aspects that will excite different cohorts of students. We'll also be able to pay for buses for students to travel to industry partners' farms. So all places of business. It doesn't need to be a farm. If you're a manufacturer or you've got any other type of food and fibre business, we think that those are really important that we show students. We'd like to work with teachers to work out what their class is interested in. So, for example, if we've got a business class, potentially they're looking at a business that's doing a lot of export or something that's quite an innovative new product. If they're a science class, they might be looking to work with a farmer that's particularly interested in different soil testing or using different products to that they're trialing, and perhaps the school students can help you collect data or analyze things to give them real world problems and that exposure to real work. And the last activity that I want to introduce is our Food and Fibre Social Entrepreneurship program. Most of you or all of you will have been invited to a webinar that Lara Carton is so kindly giving tomorrow that will provide a lot more information on social entrepreneurship in the food and fibre sector as part of this project. She'll be able to give you a background as to what it means and potentially what it looks like. We do have a PhD student who's also commencing on the Race Gippsland project that will be focusing a lot on this aspect to really understand not only how social entrepreneurship gives students life skills, but also, again, contributes to community resilience and that industry partnership. So this program in particular, we are really seeking input from teachers, school leadership, industry, and also any education partners to see what they would really like to get out of the project. Our team tries not to do a one-size-fits-all approach, and we recognise that different schools with different resources have different abilities to participate in these sorts of things. And we really want to work with you on an individual basis to come up with something that suits your school environment. One thing I can say, though, is that we will be providing professional development for teachers so that they can gain an understanding of the concept of food and social entrepreneurship. So that's probably something that will definitely occur, and the rest we are willing to speak with schools. I have got here that this actually will be 7 to 10, but on speaking with some other schools, I've heard that there are some really interested and keen primary schools. So we're speaking with the department. I don't see any issues with extending that program out for primary and secondary schools. We do hope that we might be able to establish a few social enterprises within the Gippsland region. I've spoken to people, especially in the east, where bushfires have been, a drought and then bushfires and now COVID have been massive challenges faced by the community. And we do hope that this will bring some, some of that community cohesion and lots of people working together. So that's sort of all from me. I'm an overview of the project. At the moment, we do have a website, racegippsland.com, that you can have a look at. It's quite light on at the moment, but as we progress, we'll be adding the ability for schools to register for activities. We'll have host any media and all those sorts of things to sort of show what this project is doing and what it can achieve. But at the moment, if you've got schools, if you're a school that would like to register your interest, there is an EOI form that is available. Also, my phone number and email address are there. I'm more than willing to chat to people at any stage if they would like to participate or have any questions or ideas. And I'd like to thank you all for coming today and giving up your time. And if anyone had any questions for me.